Welcome back to the 2015-2016 NBA preview. Today we're going to be covering the Brooklyn Nets at number 28. My name is Josh, your enviers, and with me, my co-host.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's Legend of Winning, aka Low. Welcome back to the preview.
Let's take a look at what the Brooklyn Nets did leading up to this season.
Last year, the Brooklyn Nets, they did a little bit, nothing really huge. The whole Jason Kidd fiasco kind of fell out, and they had to pick up Lila Hollins as a head coach. Pretty solid coach, in my opinion. I don't know what really happened between him and the Memphis Grizzlies, but they picked up a pretty solid coach. Also, midway through the season, Kevin Garnett finally returned to Minnesota, and in return, they got what I would consider a pretty good power forward, somebody who's under the radar in this league, Thad Young. I really like Thaddeus Young, flex player that's out there in the league, and I think he could really and truly get after it. But outside of that, a lot of trades over the offseason, Mason Plumlee going to.
And last year there was a lot of trade talks and who's going to be going, Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez. They were just uncertain with their entire team, but as of right now, it looks like they got rid of the rotten apple, Darren Williams. With that said, let's take a look at the summer acquisitions by the Brooklyn Nets. So if we take a look at what the Nets acquired, they acquired a few players. Few notable players. T-Rob, hopefully he does well, and most importantly, Andrea Bargnani. This team is not looking great for the future, but hopefully they could change it up. So if we take a look at what they lost a lot more than they gained. Definitely losing Mason Plumlee, Darren Williams, the Mavs, Allen Anderson, and Mirza Teletovic.
Exactly. When you look at like just comparing what they gained and what they lost, it's ridiculous. I'm confused to what was the trades for, especially there's other players on their team like Joe Johnson. Even though I know it's going to be hard to move his contract, I'm confused to why they were so quick to pull the trigger on Plumlee. Like I don't understand that. And Teletovic and Anderson were solid rotation players.
Take a look at who the Nets drafted. They drafted Hollis Jefferson, who was traded from the Blazers to the Nets with Steve Blake. He was with Arizona with Stanley Johnson last season. He put up some numbers, and I was pretty excited for the Blazers to get him. He was kind of a late steal in the draft, in my opinion. And unfortunately, he was traded away to the Nets. So he's a decent player, a great scorer, and he's going to be a great backup for Joe Johnson. And he could probably even one day start in the league. And Chris McCullough, who is getting comparisons to possibly a future Chris Bosh type player. So if we take a look at the rotation, Brook Lopez, Thad Young, Joe Johnson, Bogdanovic, and Jarrett Jack. That is their starting rotation.
Yeah,
it's pretty iffy.
That's Jesus Christ, that's so weak. The thing that really scares me is I don't know if Brook Lopez.
The backcourt is pretty weak.
No, what's even more scary, at least in my opinion, I don't see if you're relying on somebody such as Brook Lopez, who really and truly hasn't played any consistent amount of games within his whole career. Like I don't understand why I don't know if they're relying on him a lot, but I don't know what made them believe just in one season, especially in a contract year, that's what he's going to be doing for the rest of his career. Like they're really putting a lot on him with this skeleton.
They should have signed him with like at least a 1-year deal on a team or player option to just test the waters. But instead they gave him what, a 4 or 5 year contract.
And I like Brook Lopez too, but it's just I don't really see how this
never really healthy throughout his entire career.
Never healthy, and they're really relying on him to do this. I don't know.
But don't worry, if we take a look at the bench, they got the man, the myth, the legend, Bargnani backing him up, along with T-Rob, Hollis Jefferson, Wayne Ellington, and Shane Larkin.
Again, just a really iffy 10-man rotation. Even in the East, like this is extremely iffy. That's the reason why we have him so low. Like this 10-man rotation is extremely bad. And what makes it even worse, like I said before, they don't have any draft picks, so I don't necessarily know what they're doing. And they basically have solid rotation players, but again, you had that already. Just
the backcourt starters and the backcourt bench, that is ugly. Which leads us to the question.
So, like I said all the time, people, the question is, something I ask you, the listeners. So, of course, always be in the comment section below. But I also ask Josh himself, and we're going to debate and talk about, the answer to the question for each individual team. But for the Nets, the question is this the worst ran team in the NBA? Now, of course, they're in the running for a few other teams, such as the Knicks, the Lakers, and, of course, the Kings. But when you look at what they've done, not only this last offseason, and not even like just the past 2 or 3, but like over the course of a 5 to 6 year stretch, it's been inconsistent moves after inconsistent moves. The first big one that comes to mind is the whole Damian Lillard trade, where they traded away the draft pick just to get Gerald Wallace and some other players in that pick.
But at the time, you know, that was the playoff push, and they thought, for some odd reason, the guy running the Nets, he thought, we're going to win with Gerald Wallace and an old big three, which was absolutely crazy.
But that's the reason why they might be the worst ran team, and then to put it on top
they
of all
they went all in, which is completely, you know, stupid to do with old players. They went all in with old players, and they were expecting to bring a championship that one year. I have no idea what the GM is doing.
You really don't have no draft picks for the next few years because you've been trading.
Well, those draft picks are going to be great for the teams they traded them to. That's for sure.
It's just crazy. Like I don't understand why they're doing this, but I guess they are, in my opinion, hands down the worst ran team in the NBA. You don't have any talent, really not much at all, outside of Brook Lopez on this team. And then you trade away a lot of draft picks, and you didn't get really nothing for them. A whole bunch of players that were good at that moment, and that didn't pan out the way you wanted to pan out neither. So don't look too bright for the Nets.
It's gonna be a struggle.
It will be a struggle.
So with that said, let's wrap it up and give our predictions of what the Nets will be doing this season.
A lot of losses. A lot of L's in that column. I don't really see this team doing anything efficient. Brook Lopez, the only thing that they can hope for is Brook Lopez playing at least
a full season.
Yeah, I would say a full season, but I would say even at least 60 to 70 games, just so he can prove that he can do it. He potentially can be an all-star, but that's like really the only positivity around this. If I was them, just trade as many pieces as you can and really start all the way over, and in the process get draft picks, because we've kind of learned that promising your fan base you're going to overpay free agents really isn't working out for y'all.
Joe Johnson is a one-year contract, so you know you get to test the waters. You could keep him or decide to trade him. If I were the Nets, you know you're going to do bad. Might as well trade him. You know, he's kind of a good player. Right? He's kind of a good player, and he might have some value if they could find a team like the 76ers to take his huge contract.
I don't know if... I mean, he's solid, but like that's the only way that it can happen if Joe Johnson, if a team like the Sixers decide, you know, we want Joe Johnson just so we can release his contract, and then he can kind of wander up on a team somewhere else. But that's really the only way they can get rid of him, because nobody's not going to even think twice of putting on $20+ million on their contract, like on their books. That makes no sense. 24.8. Nobody's not going to do that.
They need a miracle.
In a miracle. And if you're a Nets fan, just hold on tight for at least a good.
Go back to New Jersey. I don't know which situation was worse, New Jersey or Brooklyn.
Brooklyn is worse right now. It's really, really bad. But
remember when they had the chance of getting Dwight Howard? What happened to that?
That whole, you know what's so funny? That sweepstakes was crazy because I guess everybody was still on the potential of Darren Williams, and Darren Williams just disappeared. Like, I don't know what happened to Darren Williams this past.
Well, Dwight Howard made a good career choice.
Exactly. Like the past 3 or 4 years with Darren Williams with the Nets, Jesus Christ, that was, my God, especially last year. Golly.
So with that said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy. A lot of time and effort is put into editing these videos and uploading it, so a great share would be appreciated.
Like I always say, man, please share the video, get the word around that we're doing this. Every single team, 30 teams. After a while, when you're doing like the really bad teams, it starts to become boring. But you know, we're gonna get to the good teams, I promise you. And yeah, like I said, just share. Always leave a comment in the comment section because we want to hear, you know, your opinion and have the conversation. And we'll see y'all next time.
Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.